Good morning and welcome to Korea Today, live from Seoul.
The former deputy chief at the Supreme Prosecutor's Office, Mr. Kim Jin-tae, a straight shooter who's covered a number of high-profile special probes, has been nominated as the new chief prosecutor.
Seoul's top nuclear envoy says there's a flurry of movements to possibly resume the six-party talks. More coming up in the headlines.
And there's good news for a local shipbuilder. We'll tell you what on In Print.
The online community is buzzing over the sellout streak of a unique race. I'll tell you what it is and other stories on Hot Clicks.
And as we become more internet dependent, the internet has become an open market for businesses and opportunists. We hear from Symantec Cheri McGuire, her insights on cyberspace security. Gadgets with cutting-edge technology and a retro twist. The style is attracting consumers with its added sentimental value. We look at where this trend is coming from on Korea Today on Monday, October 28th, 2013.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And good to have you with us on Korea Today on this Monday morning. Hope you had a great weekend. I'm sure those of you who went to the Jamsil baseball stadium yesterday almost couldn't believe your eyes when you saw President Park Geun-hye walk out onto the field.
That's right. We can see it in the backdrop over here now. The president walked out onto the field at Jamsil, as you mentioned, in the game between the Samsung Lions at the Tucson Bears, and through the first ceremonial first pitch. This was the first time in 10 years Korea's sitting president threw the first pitch in a baseball game in Korea.
Right, and the cute characters that you see surrounding the president are actually her bodyguards. So the people inside those cute characters, there's nothing cute about them,
That's right.
And you really got to give it to the president. It was completely from left field, her appearing as the first pitcher, ceremonial pitcher.
Apparently there was a backup first ceremonial pitch thrower that was on hand. The reason that they could not announce this earlier on was because of security reasons. And as you could see, we even had the Secret Service dressed up as these characters over there. And she was wearing sneakers. This is the first time the president actually wore sneakers in a first throw.
Looking casual and cool, too. All right, we'll begin Korea Today on this first day of the week with a check of the stories we're following at this hour.
It looks like the president was busy doing other things as well. After weeks of experiencing a power vacuum in the prosecution, a new leader has finally been nominated. President Park Geun-hye tapped former senior prosecutor Kim Jin-tae to lead the prosecution. Kim had specialized in investigating corruption cases throughout his career and has experience of heading the organization as acting chief last year. He is widely seen as a person who sticks to principles but responds to his nomination from the political arena was divided.
Things were chaotic because of the month-long power vacuum, but with this nomination, the prosecution is expected to gain stability and take a leap forward.
If the nomination was made based on whether the person shares the same ideology with the president, then it means they picked someone who sees the spy agency's alleged election meddling in the same light as the president. We are worried that the prosecution will lose its independence.
The newly nominated Prosecutor General will go through a parliamentary hearing, and upon approval, he is expected to take up the reins next month. South Korea's chief nuclear envoy Cho Tae-yong will visit the U.S. early next month to discuss recent developments in possibly resuming the six-party nuclear disarmament talks. A senior government official who declined to be named told reporters that the six-party states, including the U.S., China, and Russia, will soon start discussing the matter in detail. The source added each side will have established its position on the issue of denuclearization on the Korean peninsula and will start negotiating conditions for resuming the talks that have been stalled since late 2008. Now, Cho, who had earlier explained Seoul and Washington's strategy is to convince Beijing to persuade Pyongyang to abandon its nuclear programs, is said to be planning a trip to China as well. Investigators are looking into the background of the 6 South Koreans who were sent back by North Korea last week. The probe so far has revealed that most of them had a vague aspiration to live in the North after suffering from severe family troubles or financial difficulties. They opted to enter North Korea by crossing the Amnok or the Yalu River near the border between the North and China by either walking over the rivers when they were frozen or by jumping off a cruise ship. The released individuals reportedly said their expectations and dreams were not realized when they entered the North. Instead, they were detained in concentration camps for years and interrogated. The Korean economy has entered a recovery phase and is on course to post growth of nearly 3% this year. This, according to the country's finance minister Hyun Ho-seok, explaining Korea's GDP has grown in the 1% range for the last 2 consecutive quarters. Hyun said the nation's annual growth could surpass the government's 2.7% projection and climb to 2.9% if it maintains the 1% range gain in the 4th quarter. The minister also called on the parliament to pass more than 100 pending bills on job creation and economic revitalization in order to maintain the current growth rate. He warned that the recovery will slow down if the bills are not passed on time.
And happy Monday, everyone. How was your weekend? If you were in Korea, did you stay indoors due to the chillier weather, or did you face the elements just as some 25,000 did in a brisk marathon? 조선일보's front page image has a picturesque cut of the Chuncheon International Marathon hosted by the said newspaper. This is the 8-kilometer mark, according to the caption, where runners cross the Shinhyun Bridge above Lake Eiham. And can you just imagine the view? Coming in first at the IAAF recognized event was Kenya's 25-year-old runner Nixon Kugat by 1 second at 2 hours, 8 minutes and 29 seconds. And meanwhile, the headline below the image is eye-catching. It reads, 20% of parliamentary audit witnesses sat and went. This a result of the newspaper's analysis of video from the audits that was uploaded onto the National Assembly's website through the halfway point of the 23rd. The article reports that out of 234 general witnesses who attended the audit sessions, only 187 received a chance to answer questions, while 47 were never addressed. It also says that the average amount of time given to one witness was 11 minutes and 10 seconds, though when factoring in the questioning time in there, the answering time was likely to be much shorter than that. And scooting right over to 중앙일보 now, it has the president's starting pitch you heard about at the top of our show on its front page. Let's go ahead and take a look at this headline right here. It reads, Korea requests to Japan, or rather requests to U.S. that Japan receive prior consent from Seoul when exercising collective self-defense. As an active response to Tokyo's course toward revising its laws to allow for the right to exercise collective self-defense, Seoul, the newspaper reports, has asked Washington to allow it a say in such an exercise, that is, to give Tokyo consent if and when an act of collective self-defense would affect Korea's sovereignty. The news was relayed to correspondents in Washington on Friday by an unnamed high-ranking official who also said that plenty of conversations were being had with lawmakers in Washington about conflicts related to territorial issues as well as the past. It seems that Washington is showing an understanding posture, though it has expressed concerns as to how tensions between Seoul and Tokyo will affect trilateral relations between U.S., Korea, and Japan. Scooting right over to Gyeongyang Shinmun next. The story is on the right side. We'll go ahead and take a look at the main headline here. It reads, the Yushin years were better. Park Chung-hee idealization crosses the line. Now, this past Saturday marked the 34th anniversary of the passing of former Korean President Park Chung-hee, and the sentiment noted in the headline comes from the director of the Park Chung-hee Memorial Foundation's Hon Byung-do, who in his speech claimed that ordinary people are saying the coup d'etat days of the Yushin Revolution or October Restoration are better than today, where North Korean spies are running amok among us. He dismissed criticism that using power to jail North Korean sympathizers was like returning to the Yushin days, calling it ludicrous, adding that Korea was moving toward national modernization. And the paper is saying that those sentiments is crossing the line, as such ultra-right-wing approach are taking us back to the past. And let's go ahead and wrap things up with a look at the Korea Economic Daily. Its headline reads, Hanjin Shipping bounces back with first overseas project in 5 years. That is, it landed a contract last week to build 2 new boats for a European shipowner at a tune of $109 million. This breaks a dry spell for the company, the paper says, as the inserted graph shows the value of orders received in $100 million by Hanjin Heavy Industries over the years. The article reports that the last overseas order won by the local shipbuilder was back in 2008. And with that, we'll wrap your look at what's in print on this Monday. Next up are your closing numbers from Friday's market action.
The morning lows are in the single digits across the country this morning. It's very chilly.
And reports of overnight frosts are coming in, and we'll get an update on what today's or Monday weather is going to be with Dami joining us.
Good morning, Dami.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Today, I'm reporting live from Eunpyeonggu, Seoul. This morning conditions are quite cold. As you can see, I am bundled up this morning. Now, some areas here in the central regions, also in the inland areas down south, may see signs of some frost, which will highly turn into ice as temperatures are at 7 or 8 degrees Celsius. Now, later in the afternoon, our highs will leap into the teens, but there will be a significant gap between our highs and lows, so please try and dress accordingly. Now, throughout the day, we will be seeing clear conditions. However, the air is quite dry, so for those of you planning to take a trip to the mountain areas, please be cautious about forest fires and just in general, keep yourselves hydrated. Now, as for tomorrow, we are expecting some rain in the afternoon here in the central regions, also Gangwon, North and South Chungcheon provinces, so make sure to keep your umbrellas handy tomorrow. Let's now get a check on today's weather. Seoul, Gangneung, and Jeju will all rise to 19, Daejeon and Gwangju with highs at 18, Daegu at 20, and Busan at 21 degrees. That's all I have for the weather forecast. I'll be back in the latter half.
Still ahead on Korea Today, Cheri McGuire, a cybersecurity specialist at leading computer security company Symantec, visited Korea for a global gathering of experts and government officials to discuss the state of cyberspace and how to counter cyber terrorism. We sat down with her to look at the issues at hand.
You hear about it in the headlines from time to time, an elderly woman or a man passing away without anyone knowing, only to be found many months later. Solitary deaths are a growing problem in an aging society like Korea, and reporter Kim Chan-ju joins us for more.
Good morning. As you mentioned, Minjung, Korea is facing a rapid growth in the elderly population, and the proportion of the elderly population in Korea 65 years or older was about 11.4% in 2011, and it is expected to go up to 15.7% by 2020 and up to 37.4% in 2050. Now, 1 in every 6 elderly people are living alone in Korea, so I went out to check what can be done to this problem.
With a growing number of elderly people living alone, it has led to an increase of solitary deaths in Korea. Last month, the remains of an elderly in his 60s who died 5 years ago were discovered at his home, causing much alarm across society. This is an area commonly called Chokbang Village in Seoul because of its tiny rooms that are only roughly 3 square meters. Most of the residents here are elderly people living alone. With not enough support available, they struggle to get by regardless of whether they have families.
There are no windows and room is small, so it is difficult to live here.
I would often stay out all night because I can't sleep well here.
Korea is not an exception when it comes to an aging population. The number of elderly people in Korea is expected to reach 30% of the total population by the year 2035. Combined with the fast-growing number of single-person households, elderly people living by themselves will also increase.
Most senior citizens who live alone are on the outskirts of Seoul or somewhere hard to reach in a rural area. The welfare support system often doesn't reach them, causing lonely deaths, and in recent cases, they are not discovered until a few years later.
Despite implementing support systems for the elderly population living alone, the government and local communities are not seeing many effects due to the lack of budget and manpower.
I visit senior citizens once or twice a week and they tell me what they've been up to. It's like when we want to share our story with each other, I'm sure they feel the same way.
Many senior citizens are seeing the end of their lives alone and are in dire need of people to keep them company. This is a village in Anyang, Gyeonggi Province. Senior citizens living in this special house say they hardly feel lonely even though they're away from their families. It is all thanks to this shared home for the elderly with 30 senior citizens living together under one roof.
There are many low-income households in this district, and about 11% of the total population is senior citizens. Many of them live alone. If they spend time alone, they don't get to talk to others, and there are more solitary deaths. But by living together, elderly people can share their thoughts and take better care of their health.
Once used as a study room, the house was renovated for senior citizens to live together, share meals, and also rest. Here, senior citizens who could have otherwise been in the blind spot from governmental support find comfort in each other.
I prefer being here than being alone at home. I would just watch TV or eat or sleep. But here, I can chat with others while doing some work.
There are so many things to worry about when you live alone, like house repairs. I feel at ease when I'm here.
Senior citizens who live alone don't have anything to do when they get up in the morning. They often spend the entire day in the house alone. But elderly people here love that they have a place to go to in the morning. I see many of them have become a lot brighter in their personalities.
After running through a trial period, all of these senior citizens will move into the house by the end of October. It is great comfort for them to be living with people who understand each other. Arirang in South Gyeongsang Province, which was the first to open a shared home for the elderly, hasn't seen a single solitary death for the last 6 years. With these shared homes receiving positive reviews, many are now up and running in some 60 cities across the country.
In order to increase these group homes for senior citizens, not only does our welfare system need to be expanded, but also local residents' awareness needs to be changed. The senior citizens are part of the local community, and residents should make an effort to interact and spend more time with them.
Now, the Carnation House is a shared home, which is similar in concept, but different in practice from other nursing homes. So you actually went over there to meet the elderly that were at the shared home. What was the general atmosphere?
Well, I saw that these elderly ladies spending their days together have more energy, and they seem like they told me that they feel more appreciated spending time together as opposed to other places when they felt more like a bit of a burden if they're in their relative's house or if they're in their family's house. And it was great to see that they're interacting with each other and building friendship, and all the while looking after each other, and then also doing some small work every day, and which gives them more motivation. So I thought it was really great.
But it's not the first time the government is tackling the issue, and by watching your report, it keeps reminding me of Noinjeong. It's like a small community center where elderly population can go and spend time. But how is it different from those 노인정
Well,
places?
the Carnation House that I went to was sort of, those elderly people in the house was those who are not receiving the government subsidies. So those are in the category, but depending on the district's management system, it can be varied. So now it's sort of like the local governments that initiated the program, so they have different policies of who can go in and live together in one roof. Yeah.
All right, Chanju. Well, it seems that these shared homes are providing something different than regular nursing homes or retirement homes, and forming a group of community.
Right, and what you can do as an individual, keep a vigilant eye on those around you, right? Especially the senior citizens, right?
Exactly. I think Min-jung made a very good point. Is the simplest thing that we can do is to sort of pay more attention and raise more awareness among the community and by the local governments. And I think it's great that the local government actually initiated it rather than from the government, the central government. So why the government service is one caretaker has to look after about 25 people on average, and those receiving the government services only limited to about 20% of the elderly population living alone in Korea, which is limited. But this shared home provides assistance in one place, which saves manpower and budget. So it's an efficient way of elderly care.
Okay, thank you, Chanju, for following this story for us.
And it's 7:21 a.m. and still ahead on Korea Today. We have those flat screens and all that high-tech stuff, but from flip phones to smartphones and tube televisions, but in full HD, more of the latest smart products are under the guise of looks from back in time. Electronic goods are emerging with a retro twist, adding a bit of nostalgia to them. We'll take a look at this trend in the market.
I think I want that typewriter.
I want that TV, I think.
Well, the Seoul conference on cyberspace ended more than a week ago, and it chalked up some tangible results, including the adoption of the Seoul frameworks and commitments on setting some ground rules in dealing with issues in the cyberspace.
Cybersecurity specialist Cheri McGuire was on hand. She is the current vice president of global government affairs and cybersecurity policy at Symantec, one of the world's leading antiviral software company. We'll take a look at what she had to say. In hopes to find solutions to evolving crimes in cyberspace, participants came together at the 3rd annual conference on cyberspace in Seoul. In the never-ending search for resolutions, world-renowned international security firm Symantec's Vice President of Global Government Affairs and Cybersecurity Policy, Cheri McGuire, attended the Seoul Conference on Cyberspace to talk about increasing cybercrimes and to find a global solution.
First, thank you for the opportunity to be here to talk to the viewers on Korea Today. And I also want to compliment the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Korea for an excellent job in planning this conference. It's just been really top-notch. So my talk at the conference is going to focus on the importance of public-private partnerships. Specifically, it's going to be talking about public-private partnerships and the specific roles that both industry and governments play in protecting citizens, businesses, and government data.
Cheri McGuire had an extensive career in cybersecurity, such as working as the deputy director at the U.S. National Cybersecurity Division at the Department of Homeland Security. McGuire understands the threats posed by cyber terrorism and cyber attacks, which can bring down entire worldwide networks.
The topic of why cybersecurity is such an important issue today, it is because we are so interconnected in this global world that we live in. All of our transactions are conducted online these days. All of our financials are interconnected through global networks. Here in Korea, noted that there was, as you mentioned, a 50% increase in the cost per cybercrime victim. For example, in U.S. dollars, they increased from approximately $200 to $300 per cybercrime victim. They may seem modest, but when you multiply that across more than 1 million attacks per day against citizens globally. Approximately 378 million citizens a year are being impacted by cybercrime.
This isn't her first time in Korea. Symantec collects internet security threat data throughout the world and offers network intelligence services, so it maintains a partnership with the Korean government as well.
Yeah, so in July of 2012, we signed a memorandum of understanding for information sharing, malware analysis, and cyber threat information exchange with the Korea Internet and Security Agency, or KISA. Since that time, we've also signed several other agreements and established a number of other partnerships in Korea, including with the Korea University Graduate School of Information Security, where we're working with them on skill building as well as cyber attack information sharing. We also established another partnership with KITRI, the Korea IT Research Institute, where again we're working with them on training, education, skill building, as well as information sharing about cyber attack vectors. We signed, or last week, we signed a MOU with the Cyber Terror Response Center of the Korea National Police Agency, again, to focus on information sharing of attack vectors, as well as cyber threat information and cyber awareness building for citizens to address cybercrime issues.
There are no physical borders in cyberspace, leaving it an open zone for malicious black hats and opportunists. It's imperative that countries establish a common understanding and cooperative relationship. Korea, being a leader in the information communication technology industry, has vowed to develop and promote Korea's information protection industry.
As a very advanced nation technologically with high adoption of all forms of information technology and telecommunications, Korea is highly dependent, as many other developed nations are, on the proper functioning and security of those networks and systems. With that, we are seeing a fairly significant increase in the sophistication of cyber attackers and cyber criminals who wish to do harm against those sophisticated networks. In our Internet Security Threat Report that we released in April of 2013, we saw an increase of 42% of targeted attacks against those important networks that operate the infrastructure for countries. So I think the important thing to note here is that all nations, and Korea specifically, can focus on cyber awareness, cyber education for all citizens as well as businesses and government to help improve the overall security. There is a term that we use called, it's our shared responsibility to secure those networks, and everyone from citizens, businesses, and governments all share in that responsibility to assure the security of those networks.
Good morning, I'm Chun Song Cho and welcome to Hot Clicks. Today we start with a special event that took place all the way up in the sky. Yes, we're talking about skydiving. A group of skydivers captured the attention of many online users by performing at 13,000 feet above ground. At 200 kilometers an hour, it's hard enough to fall while maintaining balance. But the skydivers hold up a banner. On it, it says, "Korea's dawn starts at Dokdo." Since the Dokdo Islets are at the furthest eastern border of Korea, this makes perfect sense. For a successful performance, the skydivers practiced for a month and went through 50 attempts. The host of this event, Lee Dae-ho, currently a skydiving instructor, says he was inspired by Korea's former president Lee Myung-bak when he visited Dokdo Islets himself in August last year during his presidency. Skydiver E spent $4,700 out of his own pocket for the banner and airplane. So that's definitely a lot of passion that he has for the islets. This video uploaded on Facebook is getting a lot of views. A small difference makes it a masterpiece is a famous ad slogan that many Koreans are aware of. Although this isn't quite a masterpiece, here's a cluster of vendors that show you just how important details really are. You will notice that they are using popular cartoon characters, all hand-drawn, to advertise their products and discounted sale prices with catchy wordings like "it's cheap" or "only one left." A lot of online users are showing interest in these photos because all over Korea, market vendors are pretty much similar everywhere. So although it's not sophisticated or necessarily professional, you can tell this creative idea is their sincere effort to catch the attention of passing customers. Now let's jump over to our next story for K-pop fans out there. One of the K-pop groups that have stood out this year is the ever-popular group EXO. Like any popular songs or performances on YouTube, there are many cover versions of popular EXO songs. In particular, famous YouTube cover artist Jason Ray is getting a lot of attention from Korean internet users for his R&B cover of EXO's Growl. Let's take a look.
You're in danger right now. Stop provoking me, cause I don't even know what I'll do. My breath keeps stopping.
He's not just imitating the original artist. He not only sings it perfectly in R&B style, but rewrote the entire lyrics in English. The song is sung with a certain ease and professionalism that it's receiving many compliments from online users and continues to be shared and viewed online. Not too long ago, a photo of a baby that looks like he's closely guarding his neck got a lot of attention online. Well, was that the reason? Now, a series of photos featuring a sleeping baby in various settings is getting a lot of buzz. Using various props, it creates a dreamlike fantasy backdrop. Each photo has a different theme, but all feature an adorable baby. If you look closely, you'll notice that the baby is actually fast asleep. How adorable is that? I wonder if they had to actually wait around for the baby to fall asleep, and just imagine how cautious they must have been so that they wouldn't wake the baby up. It's always enjoyable to see photos of babies, so I'm sure there will be more adorable baby photos to come. Well, let's go to our last story of the day. The online community is buzzing over the sellout streak of a unique race. Have you heard of Zombie Run? It's like a regular race with a little added twist of zombies. Participants can choose to either be a runner or a zombie. Runners have to complete 5 different courses full of zombies, and it's the zombies' job to try to get in their way. The race is held on November 2nd in 2 different difficulty levels and starts in the middle of the night after the amusement park closes. Wow, that looks really scary. Zombie Run has been a popular search word at various web portals, but what's really catching the attention of the media is its continuous ticket sellout. For those who didn't get their tickets, it must be a lot of disappointment because it looks like a lot of fun. But looking at its demand, I'm sure you can expect another race in the near future.
Our definition of fun must really differ.
What's wrong with you?
That looks like a lot of fun, actually. But I wasn't really convinced when you said it was scary. I don't think you'd be very scared. I think you do a very good job running the zombie run. Now, the question is, what are the rules of the zombie run? Can anyone be a zombie? Can anyone just go ahead and run through it?
Can you punch the zombie in the face?
That's also a question, right?
I want to know that.
Actually, you can't do that. If you physically try to fight the zombies, then you'll be automatically asked to leave the park. So,
or maybe sued, right?
Yeah. Well, it's, really bad. Well, actually, like I said before, the participants can either choose to be a runner or a zombie. And a runner has 3 life tags that they attach on a belt. And zombies will try all possible means to take them away from the runners. So the runner's goal is to finish a 3-kilometer race without having their all life tags being taken away by the zombies.
It's kind of like flag football, right?
No, but why people would pay to be part of this is really beyond my comprehension.
It's the thrill, I guess, right?
But it's not even the first time this zombie run took place, right?
Yeah, actually, the first zombie run ever that took place in Korea was at Yonsei University during their May Festival. And since it was a huge success, I guess they tried to make it bigger now.
Well, why zombies, though? I mean, it's mind-boggling to think of. Why not dogs or cats that are cute, cuter than zombies?
Well, zombies first appeared in American movies back in the 60s, but, their popularity is soaring more than ever. And I think it's because the possibility of zombie outbreak seems to intrigue a lot of people. And the zombie characters are evolving now, like having the ability to think for themselves or the fast sprinting abilities. So, it seems like you can see zombies more frequently in all different kinds of social and cultural media.
Interesting story. Thank you, Song-cho, for that.
Thank you.
All right.
Now we're going to head back over to Lee Da-mi, who is joining us from Eunpyeong-gu, and she has a special aerobics class that she's going to be attending. It happens every day.
Nothing like his zombie this morning, Lee Da-mi. Let's go back to her right now.
Zombies, right? We'll go over to Da-mi.
Back to you.
I'm back reporting live from Eunpyeong-gu at Bulgang Stream. Now, every morning right here at this location, there are a group of people that gather to exercise, and it's none other than the Kanyang aerobic members. 여러분, 안녕하세요! Now, this particular group has been around for more than 10 years, exercising right underneath this bridge, right here at this location. Now, about 5 years ago, from the help of the district office, they had this really nice facility with the nice speakers and a mirror right in front of them installed for them to use while they're exercise. And as you can see, the energy is just quite amazing here this morning. Now, their exercise routine consists of an hour straight of aerobics, non-stop. So all I can say is I bet everyone here is probably more fit than anyone on our Korea Today team. Now, in the front, we have our instructor, Kim Chung-ja, age 72, and she started out at a young age as an aerobic instructor, and now as a professional. And all the members that we see here are from the ages of in their 50s to 60s, so they're middle age, but all of them, their bodies are telling me otherwise because, wow, they can really get them moving. It must be the effects of aerobics. Now, aerobics is really great for for those of you that want to go on a diet, as it is a cardio exercise and it really gets you moving. So without further ado, let's go ahead and try some of it out, okay? Everyone, come on, get out of your seats. Let's go ahead and try it out. For about 5 to 10 seconds, but I'm already getting my pumping and my heart is pumping really crazy. All right, so it's a great way to start your day, get some fresh air and some exercise. Don't forget to get your exercise this day. I'm Lee Da-mi, Korea Today.
Asa, that's got to be the word of the day today. Well, good Monday morning to you all as we kick things off with the 2013 Korean series between the Doosan Bears and the Samsung Lions. Now, after the Doosan Bears swept both games in Daegu, the Samsung Lions were desperate for a win as the series came to Seoul at the Jamsil Stadium. So with that said, let's take a look at the highlights from Game 3 of the 2013 Korean series. Of course, going into the game here, starting pitchers in the game, Yoo Hee-kwan for the Doosan Bears and Chang Won-sam for the Samsung Lions. But in the fourth inning of the game, Park Han-hee is going to ground one to short, but an error by Son Chi-yeon scores Park Sung-min and the Samsung Lions take a 1-0 lead. Next play, E.G. Young is going to send this one to left field, and tagging up is Choi Young-woo, and it's 2-0 Samsung. 7th inning of the game, Park Han-hee on third base, and a wild pitch brings home the 3rd run of the game. A shift over to the bottom of the inning. Hong Sung-eun, line drive down the left field line, and this one is gone. A solo shot cuts the deficit to 3-1. Gonna stay in the same inning here. Next play, Son Ji-hyun at bat. He's gonna single to right field, and here comes Oh Jae-won to score, and he is safe, but he pulls his hamstring on the play, and he's taken out of the game. 9th inning of the game, Oh Seung-won in to close the game. Choi Jun-suk grounds out to second base, and 1 man out. Next batter, Hong Sung-eun, called strike 3. Next up, Yang Lee-ji, and he goes around strike 3. Ball game over. The Samsung Lions take game 3 as Tucson now take a 2-1 series lead. And moving on to some Sunday's K-League Classic action as Gangwon FC beat the Jeonnam Dragons 2-1 with Busan and Incheon drawing 0-0 and Daegu FC and Seongnam also drawing 0-0 as well. So with that said, let's take a look at the big matchup here. The Ulsan Hyundai Tigers taking on the Suwon Samsung Blue Wings. Of course, going into the game here, Ulsan trying to close in on the K-League Classic title here as Rafinha in the 13th minute of the match finds the back of the net, and it's 1-0 Ulsan. Now before the first half closes in the 39th minute, Suwon looking quite aggressive, and Seo Jung-jin gets one past the goalkeeper, and the match is tied 1-1. Stays that well into the second half of the match. The big man Kim Shin-wook in the 64th minute, and there it is, 2-1 Ulsan. Suwon tried to find the equalizer, but to no avail as Ulsan takes 3 points and 5-point lead in the standings. All right, next up, let's take a look at some basketball highlights from the nation on Sunday as KT Sonic Boom beat the struggling Seoul Samsung Thunders 89-82 thanks to Ira Clark's 29 points and 8 rebounds. So with that said, let's take a look at the other 2 games that took place, starting off with the rematch of last year's championship, Seoul SK Knights taking on Ulsan Mobis Phoebus. And of course, going into the game here, a close game from the start as SK takes a slim 18-17 lead thanks to Courtney Sims' 10 points in the quarter. Before SK extends that lead to 36-30 going into halftime with Aaron Haynes of the SK Knights putting up 10 points in the second quarter. SK continues to run away with it in the third quarter of the game, but Ulsan's Moon Tae-young lighting it up in the fourth quarter as Mobis starts rallying late in the game. But with 11 seconds left in the game, Aaron Haynes with a clutch shot wins it for SK. 78-76 is your final score. And next up, Incheon ET-Line Elephants taking on Wonju Dongbu Promi first quarter. Dongbu controlling the paint, take a slim 20-17 lead. Second quarter, despite Herbert Hill's 11 points in the second quarter, ET-Line storms back to take the slim 39-38 lead going to the second half of the game. Now third quarter, Dongbu's defense making it tough for Incheon as Dongbu takes the lead back once again, and what a roller coaster of a game. But in the fourth quarter, Dongbu's offense nowhere to be seen as Chaba Lee lights it up with 8 points in the quarter as Incheon rallies back once again. 71-58 is your final score. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
We live in a world of high tech these days where every manufacturer is trying to come up with something higher in tech and more cool than the other. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw mugs displaying temperatures of the contents inside soon.
Pretty soon.
Well, some people are going back to retro, looking for a little bit of the old school vintage feel along with the high tech. Joining us is Audrey Young to tell us more. Good morning.
Audrey.
Good morning, everyone. You're absolutely right. One of the biggest trends in Korea right now is the revival of retro styles. So recently, state-of-the-art electronics with retro designs are becoming a huge hit with customers, and I went there to check it out. Every day, new advanced products are introduced in the market. Among a sea of modern products, retro designs are making a comeback. So we visited a home appliance store in Gangnam-gu to see for ourselves what retro designs were catching people's attention. This is a wireless audio docking system. It's a product from this year, but it looks like it's from the 1970s.
So what really attracts me to this is that this would go very well in a nice, beautiful, classic home, but also have all the features of a high-tech electronic device.
This flip phone also caught my attention. It even has a keypad and looks nearly identical to the flip phones we used in the past.
Oh, wow.
이거는 어떤 핸드폰이에요? 아날로그 감성의 향수를 불러일으키는 갤럭시 골든이라는 핸드폰입니다.
You're right, Young. The functions are the same as the latest smartphones on the market.
What do you think?
Cool. Even amongst the latest digital cameras, you'll notice products with retro designs. With its gold lining and leather trims, this looks like an old film camera. If you're fond of the new but can't let go of the old, well, now you can have the best of both worlds. The classic meets smart technology. It's the same with refrigerators. The most popular used to be the side-by-side stainless ones, but not anymore. This design was popular back in the 1950s. It's twice the price of other same-size models, but since its launch in March, over 5,000 of these have been sold, proving its popularity.
Twice the size, right?
Right, with the doorknob.
More and more
all, right?
consumers are in search of unique appliances. So we've come out with a vintage design refrigerator. Customers with unique tastes are demanding vintage designs, and unlike current refrigerators in boxy shapes, our new product, the Classic, is round and is popularly purchased for added decoration.
The retro design trends have a lot to do with Korea's current climate in the economy. Back in 1998, retro and vintage designs were a huge hit right after the Asian financial crisis. These days, less people identify themselves as middle class than after the financial crisis in the 90s. Reminiscent.
Give away your age.
Reminiscent of the heydays of economic prosperity, retro designs provide a small escape from the current bleak reality. So experts say that the prevailing trend is an indication of how people feel. Using this sentiment, companies are experiencing great success with their marketing strategies. These new concept IT products are combining contrasting elements like digital technology and analog designs.
Those are pretty neat.
Yeah. Retro designs can bring back fond memories and bring out a sense of familiarity and comfort. So based on this, you can say that retro designs evoke positive sentiments.
This is a cafe in the trendy Hongdae neighborhood. We came here after hearing about some unique retro electronics. This looks like a wooden cup, but it's actually a hardwood stereo speaker. Also, this hardwood audio docking system actually doubles as a lighting fixture. This product is made by professional Korean wood craftsmen.
Oh, the song.
It has wireless Bluetooth capability, so you can connect your smartphone to play music. But the sound is all digitally produced.
A lot of modern designs use materials like plastic or plywood, which give off a cold feeling. With our analog designs, we wanted to provide our customers with warmer and cozy furniture using hardwood materials.
one weeknight, we followed a group of people. These enthusiasts belong to a club also related to retro trends. These enthusiasts actually own and operate the same digital camera. Now, take a closer look at the cameras they're holding. It looks like an analog film camera commonly used in the past.
이에는 필터 같아서 사람들이 다 필터인 줄 아는데 반전이 있어요. 액정이 딱 있어요.
Like a high-tech digital camera, the pictures come out sharp, even though the lighting is poor at night. There isn't a particular reason why they prefer the analog-style digital camera. It's just that they prefer to express their individuality with this design. They find it charming because it functions like a manual camera, but its digital functions
This camera has a
add to its
film
appeal.
simulation function, so it takes various photos with an analog film photography look. It's the best aspect of this camera.
It's a retro design. As popular retro styles resurface again and again, I purchased this design because I knew I wouldn't get tired of it.
Retro designs have definitely created a niche market. It'll be interesting to see if the retro craze continues.
As a company, there are several reasons for using retro designs. Most appliances these days look similar, so customers can't tell the difference between brands. So the designs are used to differentiate and appeal to customer sentiments.
Well, as for the cameras, I think it's just the style and the design of it that lures consumers to buy those. You know, they want some of the old stuff. But with these retro designs, you can use its functionality features as well as use it as decorations.
Yeah, that's right. I don't think that they just created and people have that preference just because of the design, like what you said. It's because they get the best of both worlds.
Both worlds.
Because it's redesigned. It's not just imitating the retro style, it's actually redesigning to add in smart technology, so it's actually convenient for the use today and it has a modern touch.
And we've seen retro trends in the past too, but what's different about the retro trend this time, these days?
That's a good point that you bring up. In the past, the retro trends, those who were the consumers of the retro trends were more those who are over 50 years of age, and whereas now those who are interested in the retro trends tend to be people in their 30s, those who grew up in the 90s, and they also have different purchasing trends. Those of the older generation tend to want to have the retro trends and the style of devices that are actually more similar to the original products. So it doesn't have a lot of that smart technology, whereas the younger generation now, we want to have that convenience. We want to have all that smart technology and the advancements of today's products.
You know, you might want to leave Minjung out of the we because I think she, knowing that Molly's sensible, I feel like she's in the 50s somewhere.
I'm in my 50s, yes.
I only know Tiara. That was
I just happen to look young.
Okay, so we brought some products over here, and this is the same stuff that was shown in the video, in the report. And can you introduce us to these? It looks very cool.
So,
very nice. What is this?
This is the one that we saw in the video, the cafe in Hongdae. So these are speakers, and actually, if you just turn this knob up, and I'm just gonna turn this on, see if the music's on.
Wow.
And you have Busker playing.
Yes, there we go. So we just have to turn this up.
That's the volume function.
That's
wow,
the volume
this is pretty
function.
neat. Huh.
And actually, if it's not connected to your phone or MP3, you can use it, and this knob is actually used to find the radio stations.
Okay.
And the sound comes out from the top.
And there's
so it's
also
so
a
easy
little
to
room
use.
for a little memory chip that can go in there to storage.
And I'm thinking these would be not too easy to make.
Oh, this is heavy.
No,
This is real wood.
Yeah, you're right. It's actually all handcrafted.
Uh-huh.
It's hardwood and handcrafted. So I'm going to turn this down a little so that we can hear what we're saying.
You know, and the sound is not that loud too. You know, Mark Broom, he has a tendency to really slam on his keyboard. Our anchor there.
I would think it costs a small fortune, these things.
Okay, I'll give you a brief estimate of what these cost. So something like a hardwood designed mouse like this would be about $65 US.
Okay. All right.
What Young is holding right now, that keyboard, is going to cost between $1,300 to $1,900 US.
Okay.
So a bit more expensive
Well,
than
considering you can get a
plastic
keyboard
ones.
these days for about 10,000 won, that's about $9, you know?
Right, so it is a little more expensive.
Or very expensive.
You might want to handle it here now. Just leave it.
Yeah, you want to set it down nicely there, Young.
Soft. Okay, there.
It is a little more expensive, but for those who are interested in having that classic design and that feel, it's probably worth it.
It's an investment, I guess, for yourself. A little,
Right.
And it looks good.
Self-indulgence,
I mean, you walk in there and someone sees that keyboard, they're going to be like, whoa,
It's a
what's
conversation
that, right?
opener, too.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you for bringing all this stuff. Now put this in your pocket so you can keep it, right?
65,000
Thank you, Audrey,
won.
for this story. Very interesting. Right, I'm not in my 50s, just for the record. And that's about it for this Monday morning.
All right, we hope you enjoyed our program for today. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 7 a.m.
Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.